This video is about how not to plan a novel, which is what I've learned because it is so easy to fall down the rabbit hole. But first I want to talk about what I'm doing wrong, because I don't think you can change things and do things better if you don't acknowledge what you're doing wrong. Or describing in great detail the location, basically anything that doesn't move the plot along, something he might call shoe leather, anything that sort of fills it in because you don't know what happens next.
Today we're going to talk about eating the frog. Now this comes from a Mark Twain quote where he says that if you've got to eat a frog, eat the live one first, and it's the worst thing you'll have to do all day. And Brian Tracy took that concept and came up with this frog method of shaping your calendar. So for our purposes, what we're going to call the frog is the thing you have to do this week. So that could be something you've put off, like me watching my mother's New Year's video. Ask me if I watched it yet when we chat. We'll see if I actually have done it. So what are the qualifications of a frog? What makes a frog? Number one, it is probably something that takes a little bit of time. Probably it's going to take 4 hours even to do. So not only is it going to take time, it's going to take some movement, it's going to take some work, it's going to take some effort. The other thing it's going to do is it's going to give you a big win. So this is a big dopamine moment, okay? So this is going to fill you, when you finish this, you're going to feel like, oh, just that rush. You don't even need to reward yourself. You don't need to check anything off. You're just going to feel the rush because like, I did it. Oh, so if you know you're going to get that dopamine rush, that's probably your frog. So it's probably something you've been putting off because of these reasons, but it's worth doing because of this reason. It's going to make the difference. This is going to make your week successful. That's what the frog is.
But your frog is the thing you just have to do. You just have to do it. And that for me was the spreadsheet. I just had to do it, but I didn't know where to start. And I found that if I went down to the micro, then the macro became much easier because, as Sean says, and this is Sean Coyne from the Story Guide, what he says is that every scene, especially pivotal scenes, especially those 15 core scenes that are in every story, those scenes need to be sort of a micro version of the global story. So they need to pivot on those things. If you're writing a love story, they need to deal with love and hate. If you're writing a thriller, as I am, they need to deal with life and death and damnation, especially later on. So that was a sort of thing there. One of the things Tim got stuck in with, which I think is pretty classic, is the introduction of the MacGuffin or the crime. Now, the MacGuffin is, it doesn't matter necessarily. It could be anything. It could be anything at all. Think of, I've talked about it before, but think about Pulp Fiction and that case, the briefcase. The briefcase moves the story along, but we don't even know what it is. We don't even know what's in it. It could replace it with anything and it wouldn't matter. And that's what the MacGuffin is. And so I was also getting a little bit hung up on what my initiating crime was, because I'm writing a thriller in Australia, and I've decided that since guns aren't readily available in Australia because we have no gun laws, very strict ones, I didn't want to rely on the gun trope. I've decided there's no guns in my story. My characters can't get guns. They're not crime lords. They're just normal people, and they can't get guns. So everything they have to do without guns, which means that having a crime, and because I'm dealing a lot with the cyber world and the internet, I figured cybercrime was where I needed to go. But that doesn't really pivot on life and death. So I was actually struggling a lot with this. I just decided that I'm going to mark it as TK. Now, this is another Sean thing. And the TK means to be completed, which should be TC, I suppose. But anyway, it's TK, but it's apparently a classic editor term that we'll get back to that. And Sean actually says to do this, and this is amazing. This was revolutionary for me, that you can actually plop in a cliche or a scene you've stolen from somewhere else. Just plop it. I need a Fight Club type scene in this moment. I need a Pulp Fiction type scene, I need a briefcase. I need something right here. And you can just pop in that cliche, and I just mark TK in my spreadsheet next to it. When I come back to write this scene, I need to think about it a little bit. I need to move it forward a little bit. And I thought that was really great. So now I know how not to plan my novel. So how do I plan it? Well, I went back to the StoryGrid website and I found out like the key things you need to do. There's 5. I love a good top 5. So yay me. So here are the 5 things and what we need to do going forward the rest of the month. Number 1, write a log line and a jacket. So that is my number 1 task. When I get off this video, I'm going to write that log line and I'm going to write that jacket cover. That's what I'm going to do. Number 2, characters. Now, I've already done that. If you go back to this video here, I've already done a lot of character work because while Sean doesn't do a lot of character work, he does, while Sean doesn't do a lot of character work, I'm also following Abby Emmons, and Abby Emmons does a great deal of character work. So I went through and did her character questionnaire. Like I said, you can see that. You can see that video there. And that is just, that was really good work. But I want to take it a step further. So what I did too is I sat down and I did a spreadsheet. I created a spreadsheet that dealt with character and dealt with the kind of key things that Sean and StoryGrid say, and plopped in a few of Abby's as well. And a lot of it I already had through that character work. And then I plopped things in and moved things around and gave everybody a title because I also looked up the essential casting. And that's going to be a future video too. So just subscribe to this channel and I'll take you through piece by piece the spreadsheet I've created based on StoryGrid and Abby. And I've pushed them together and I've created this really great way to cast my novel. So that'll be a future video as well. And then the next thing was genre and the genre plot. And that I've done as well. So that was, I got to take that. So yay. So I have decided I want to write a thriller with a very strong worldview, either a maturation or a revelation worldview subplot for my characters. So yay. And then the foolscap. So that is my frog, guys. That is my frog. When we come back next video, I promise you I will have at least figured out a way